Here to speak with us today about digital transformation, Greg Gorbach, Vice President, Digitization and Industrial Internet of Things at ARC Advisory Group. Greg, welcome.
Thanks, Russell. Glad to be here.
Greg, for a number of years we were talking about the Industrial Internet of Things, of course, and Industry 4.0, and of course we started talking about digital transformation. I guess the question is digital transformation still a driving force today? What do you say?
Well, it's actually bigger than ever. You know, the terms are a little variable, so you never know how people are going to talk about this, digitization, digital transformation. But there's no doubt about it. You know, our user clients are asking us about this all the time. We've been doing a number of workshops recently in this area. And in fact, at some of our members' requests, we've started up a members-only group of users that we call the Digital Transformation Council. So it's a popular topic more than ever.
Let's make sure we're all on the same page, because you're right. These terms have variable definitions. So at ARC, how do you define the terminology?
Well, I think if you know, it's helpful to talk about digital transformation as, you know, sort of in the broad sense as changing your organization or improving your organization through the use of some of these new technologies. So at a sort of conceptual format, that's really good enough, but it doesn't help. So we start thinking about, well, what are some of the target areas that many companies are going after? And that falls into 6 different buckets, we think. So there's the smart operate and maintain area, which has gotten a lot of interest over the years with asset performance management and operations performance management. There's a smart design component, because as you're putting some of these new concepts into place, you know, it changes what you have to think of in the early stages of defining products and buildings and things like that. There's a smart supply chain dimension, because you're tracking the components and replacement parts and things like that much earlier and throughout the process. Of course, we touched on smart products, which is, you know, what everybody thinks of, connected things and autonomous cars and things like that. So that's coming. Right behind all that, once you start getting some of those pieces in place.
Smart services, I would imagine.
Exactly. Those services can be enabled by all that stuff, and that's what drives it forward. And then, you know, you need to knit together your whole organization, so that smart business, transformative business process is often the crowning or icing on the cake for this whole thing.
I think my enterprise needs this digital transformation we're talking about, but I'm not entirely sure, so I come to you. Tell me, the forces that really are compelling me to do this, what are they?
Well, you know, it's this availability of a host of disruptive technologies is kind of the spark that triggered it off. And that's been broiling around in the industry for a while. But what we see is people are actually doing something. And as each company is noticing that their competitors are doing these things, and they're thinking a little bit more about, you know, what they can do, they're starting to take it up more and more. So that's really the big driver that we see.
I wonder if we might look at the obverse for just a moment. Surely there must be some forces that are hindering or hampering development in this area. Are there? What would they be?
Well, people always talk about cybersecurity as one of the impediments for this, and it's an important area, and, you know, not to be taken lightly. But in spite of the cybersecurity concerns, you know, this digitization is taking off in so many different dimensions. So it is an important piece, but it's probably slowing things down a bit, but it hasn't stopped it. So we see that. And then there's another factor that's kind of a complexity factor. There's so many different things that you might tackle and that you might improve within your organization. How do you know where to start and which one?
So many different technologies and solutions.
Well, it's technologies, and it's also, you know, target opportunities, you know, that I might apply the technologies to gain some benefits. And there's a lot. There's a lot that can be done. Sometimes that gets in the way.
Are there different business models that are emerging? Is that arguably a hurdle to implementation of these things?
Yeah, it's a chicken and egg thing where, you know, the power of this transformation, if you think about digital transformation, that sounds like a big thing, and it could be a big thing, but it's hard to, you know, for many folks or companies to imagine how to get from where they're at to where they might be. So little by little, this is coming along as we start to see some examples emerge and users start to learn from, you know, what other guys have done.
You know, at the top you mentioned something called a Digital Transformation Council, I believe. Well, what is that? And if it's interesting to me, how do I get involved?
Well, if you're a user in an industrial company or a municipality or a public sector company or infrastructure company or utilities or something like that, then we're more than happy to have you join our council. It's a members-only collaborative community that we've started recently, and so it's easy enough if it's easy enough to join. We are seeing, you know, we had a meeting here at our event this week, and quite a bit of interest in it. And in fact, as we started talking to folks about it, the message we got back first is, good idea, hurry up. So we're trying to do that.
We're going to sign off in just a moment, but final question. Any other thoughts, further thoughts in this area that you want to bring to the attention of the viewer?
Well, the exciting thing, I think, is that we are in an era of what I call the great digitization. So we're transforming industry, infrastructure, and utilities and all kinds of organizations throughout our sectors. And so it's really exciting time to be, and we're happy to support it.
Well, Greg, I know you're busy here at the council, but this has been a great opportunity to get this overview and drill down into a very exciting area. Thank you so much for meeting with us.
Thank you very much.
It's Greg Gorbach, ARC Advisory Group, talking to us today about the great digitization. Thank you for watching.